So friends, today we are going to discuss the approaches to study history. All of you must be knowing that history is a part of our GS1 syllabus. Apart from that, there will be many questions in the prelims as well. To begin with, we are going to discuss what is history. Then we will be discussing that why history is the first point of our syllabus. Then we will be discussing how to look at history in general. After that, we will create a basic framework for this history subject from both prelims and mains point of view. And then we will again create the framework for ancient India, medieval India, modern India, post-independent India, as well as world history and political philosophies. So this is what we are going to do in the coming 3 lectures. So what is history? Generally, when anybody will ask you a question, what is history? It is the study of the human past, right? So whatever has happened, whatever the events that has taken place in the past, when we study them, normally we say that we are studying history. If you want to elaborate it a bit further, then history is the study of the past, but not only about the events, but it is the people who have participated in those events, the societies who participate in those events, as well as when we study history, we study the problems as well. Basically, it is our attempt to understand them. When we will be discussing what is history, there is a corollary question that why we want to study history. Many people say that there are so many debates in history. अभी जो हुआ वो भूल जाओ, अभी फिर से वो क्यों निकाल रहे हो, and things like that. But still, we are expected to study history, right? And even though we are entering into the 21st century, when UPSC brought its new syllabus, the ambit of history has increased phenomenally. You will not believe that until 2014, people used to study only from Battle of Plassey 1757 to 1947 that India became independent. उतना ही था, that is the British Raj. But अभी क्या हुआ है कि अभी now you are supposed to study history right from the Paleolithic age, Stone Age, when the human beings started to throw stones on the others. So right from the Stone Age until the present day, everything that has happened in India we have to discuss under history, and apart from that we have to discuss very important events that has happened in the world history as well. तो ये सब क्यों पढ़ना है? ये पढ़ना इसलिए है because we have to understand the problems of the past so that we will maybe make our future better. So does it mean that whatever happened in the past means history? Yeah, means in a simple layman's terminology, yes, whatever happened in the past is history. But if we dig deep, there is very interesting difference between what has happened in the past and what actually history is. What happened past is fixed in time, right? It cannot be changed. For example, around 300 years ago, at a place called Haldighati in Rajasthan, there was a battle between Mughal King Akbar and Rajput King Rana Pratap. So that event has taken place. Until 2019, people used to say that Mughals, that is Akbar, defeated Rana Pratap. But suddenly in 2019, Rajasthan history textbooks claimed that it was not Akbar, but it was Rana Pratap who defeated Akbar. So what happened? History took 180-degree turn. मतलब जो पहले X था, मतलब पहले बोल रहे थे कि अकबर जीता है, now they are saying राणा प्रताप जीत गया. Does it mean that whatever happened 300 years ago has changed? Actually, it has not, right? Whatever has happened is fixed in time and space. That cannot be changed. But how we look towards those things, how we interpret those things undergoes a significant change. This is the beauty of history, and this is the biggest problem of history as well. But frankly speaking, this is the reason that why we have to study history. E.H. Carr might be the most famous historian of the last century, and he has written a fantastic book called What is History? It is also translated in Marathi as well. इतिहास म्हणजे काय? हिंदी में भी वो book है, आप पढ़ सकते हो. And in that book, E.H. Carr says history is a dialogue. It's a continuous dialogue between the present and the past. And now this is very important. This is history, right? This is history. What is history? History is not only to study what has happened in the past, but frankly speaking, history is, right now we are sitting here and we are looking towards those things in the past and we are reinterpreting them, right? We are maybe trying to understand them, we are trying to grasp them, and this study is a study of history. तो सीधी सी बात है, देखो कि देयर वाज वन बैटल एंड फॉर एग्जांपल इफ देयर इज अ पेंटर and a painter paints that battle on his canvas, can that be history? No, that's a painting. Maybe somebody will make a movie on that. This is how the battle took place, but even that is not history. But if we try to interpret कि ऐसा क्यों हुआ था, ऐसा ही क्यों हुआ, या ऐसा हो सकता था क्या, अगर ऐसा होता तो क्या होता, या ऐसा जो हुआ है उसका इम्पैक्ट क्या हुआ है. So when we discuss these kind of things, when there is a dialogue between the present and the past, then that is actually called history. James Joyce has said that history is a nightmare from which I am trying to awake. I guess whenever we hear this word history, and frankly speaking, in the last 5-6 years, there are so many debates about history. पद्मावत हुआ था या नहीं था, अलाउद्दीन खिलजी कैसे था, बाबर ने मस्जिद तोड़ दी, मतलब राम मंदिर तोड़ा या नहीं था, वेदर शिवाजी महाराज हिंदवी स्वराज चाहते थे, हिंदू का स्वराज चाहते थे या नहीं चाहते थे, पटेल और नेहरू में झगड़ा था या नहीं था, वियतनाम में क्या हुआ, वर्ल्ड वॉर में क्या हुआ, हिटलर कैसा था. एंड देयर आर सो मेनी क्वेश्चंस एंड देयर आर सो मेनी डिबेट्स अगेन ओपनिंग अप, राइट. सो बेसिकली व्हाट जेम्स जॉयस इज सेइंग, जेम्स जॉयस इज कि ह्यूमन हिस्ट्री में इतने सारे प्रॉब्लम्स है और इतनी सारी हमने बुरी चीजें की, लाइक द वर्ल्ड वॉर 1 एंड वर्ल्ड वॉर 2 एंड द हिटलर एंड एटम बॉम्ब एंड व्हाट नॉट, राइट. सो व्हाई टू स्टडी दोस थिंग्स, राइट. सो ही इज सेइंग दैट इट्स अ नाइटमेयर. Jane Austen, some of you might have heard her name. She's a pioneering feminist. And what she's saying history is basically a quarrel of the popes and the kings. There were wars and pestilences. Pestilences means pandemics in every page. And because she's a feminist, what she's saying the men also good for nothing and hardly any woman at all. It is very tiresome. So basically she's saying that history is not the study of, or it is not written from the feminine perspective. It is a purely patriarchal in nature. So Jane Austen has basically denounced major portion of history of Europe as well as of Indian history, or maybe the world history in general. Some people say that study of history means the study of the great individuals like Ashok, like Akbar, like Shivaji Maharaj, like Gandhi, like Churchill, and like King Constantine, and the great pharaohs of Egypt, and Abraham Lincolns, and Mother Teresa's. So when we study these great individuals, automatically we study important events that has happened in the past. At the same time, we can learn from their mistakes, as well as we can get inspiration from their good deeds as well. Some people say that history is basically studying the winds of change. For example, right now we are experiencing a wind of change, right, because of Corona. The way people are doing businesses, the way people are interacting with the others, everything is undergoing a significant change. So even though Corona is supposed to be a pandemic, right, it is a pandemic, but it is one of the significant events of history, because world has never stopped like this, not even during the world wars or the great depressions or the cold wars, right. So this is a wind of change that is blowing. For example, in 2014, when the UPA was defeated by NDA, there was a wind of change. In 2011, when Anna Hazare sits for Anshan for Lokpal Vidhayak, civil society has never been active like this for maybe 4 decades. During the Jayaprakash Narayan's agitation in 1970s, civil society was so active. Wind of change. Mahatma Gandhi comes. Everything started to change in India. Wind of change. Newton comes. There is a very famous poem about Newton. World was full of darkness, and God sent Newton to earth, and God says that let there be light. So Newton comes and there was a light. People started to look towards things in a very, very scientific manner, a wind of change. So history is nothing but what? History is nothing but studying the wind of change. History is basically studying the challenges. Jawaharlal Nehru, you might be knowing, is one of the greatest intellectual that has adorned this world, and he found time in all this chaotic life of his to read some famous books, The Discovery of India, and he also wrote The World History as well. So from he has defined history, and he has simply said that this is what is history. He said that humanity has been fighting against nature, and the account of this fight is nothing but history. And in a way, yes, that's it, right? So history is nothing but the challenges the humanity has faced and how we have responded to those challenges. In modern era, uh, you might have heard the name of Karl Marx. Karl Marx has provided a scientific basis to the study of history. Whether you like Marx or not, it doesn't matter. But he was again one of the greatest intellect that humanity has ever seen. And he was a student of Hegel. And Hegel brought a concept of dialectics. And this is one wind of change. Hegel was a great individual. To study Hegel and his thoughts is nothing but history, right? And he's tried to solve one of the basic challenges that the humanity is facing. How changes actually happens, why people start to think, why we think, and to provide a framework for this topic, why people think. He evolved a concept of dialectics, and that influenced the way we look towards history now. What he says, he basically says that most historical changes and outcomes were driven by dialectic interactions. According to him, for every thesis means he used the word thesis for an idea or for a proposition, there exists an antithesis, that is a reaction, that is to the opposite idea. Means, for example, initially there was a capitalism, right? Now, because of capitalism, obviously economic growth started to happen. There was immense increase in production, but at the same time, because of capitalism, poverty started to increase as well, because the capitalists started to exploit the lower strata of the society, that is the labor community. So capitalism is a thesis here, it's an idea, but there exists an antithesis. And what is that antithesis? The antithesis to that is socialism. And now the thesis and the antithesis encounter with each other, struggle with each other, and from that emerges a synthesis, that is a new idea. So something new comes out of it. Means, for example, like the era of liberal democracies we are living in. So there will always be something, that is some idea, it will be countered by something that is opposite idea, that is reaction, that is antithesis, and a synthesis will occur. Right? Karl Marx took this further. So basically, what is history? History is his story, right? Even the feminist also says that it is written purely from the patriarchal perspective. So his story is often, but we are not going to get into that his here. We are going to say that his or her, but basically we are talking about heroic elites. We are talking about the brave kings. We are talking about the queens. We are talking about the strong governments, and we are talking about the great battles won and lost, right? So when we talk about history, we talk about these heroic elites. We talk about the great individuals and their deeds. That is, in a way, his story. Tanner says studying the past was once only done by the society's elites. It was used for particular reasons, perhaps to generate the support for political regimes, to get people to back campaigns and conquests, to chart military success, or celebrate the lives of what were considered important individuals such as kings and saints. Have you understood the meaning of this? You have to remember that when you talk about history, we are not talking about the events that has happened in the past only. There is a purpose behind studying history. There is a purpose behind imbibing history on you. Let me give an example. Some of you might be aware of a concept called uh, myths. Anybody knows the meaning of myth? What is myth? In Marathi or Hindi, it is called as danta. Myths are created, and for majority of us, history is nothing but myths only. Anybody knows who invented steam engine? You can write that in a box. Who invented steam engine? James Watt. Anybody want to counter Swapnil? He's saying James Watt invented steam engine. Rushank has also said James Watt, right? Now, you're not going to believe what I'm going to tell you, but this is really going to be very interesting 5 minutes, and your eyes are really going to open up now, and you have to be really awake. In our school days, one story was narrated to us that James Watt was sitting, thinking, right, thinking about something, and he was also making a tea. And water was boiling. When water starts to boil, then the lid of the kettle starts to vibrate. Then he asked the question to himself that who is vibrating that lid? And then he thought that there must be some power. And what is that power? That power is the steam's power. And then he thought about steam engines and etc. etc. Right? This is a story told to us. We all believe that steam engines were invented by James Watt. Actually, it is not the case. The power of steam was already invented maybe 1500, 1600 years before James Watt. Even the modern steam engine was also invented before James Watt. And James Watt used to work on those engines. उस वक्त प्रॉब्लम क्या होता था कि जो स्टीम इंजन जो है, मतलब आई थिंक यू नो द बेसिक कंसेप्ट ऑफ स्टीम इंजन, दैट यू विल टेक अ वाटर, you will boil it, so water is converted into steam, then that steam is used to move something, some wheel, right? So in that process, the steam energy is converted into that work, and because of that steam again gets converted into water, and that water will again go back to the river, right? So this is how the steam engine works. So उस वक्त क्या होता था, you have to continuously keep pumping in the water from the river. You have to keep boiling it, you have to keep generating the steam, and that steam again get converted into water, and water will again go back to the river, right? At that time, the pumps which used to pump in the water from the river used to get clogs, filters jam ho jate the, and James Watt used to clear those filters. Can you believe this? So James Watt ultimately got fed up with this. He said that there has to be some solution. And James Watt invented condenser. You know the meaning of condenser, right? Working of condenser. You take a water, you filter it properly, then you seal that water in a condenser. You heat that water from the condenser. Heat अंदर ही हो जाती है. The steam will be generated inside that condenser, right? It automatically it gets converted into water again by doing the work, and again वो पानी नीचे आएगा. Then again you start boiling it. So here water gets circulated again and again in the same condenser. Because of that condenser, use of steam engine became practical. So James Watt never invented steam engine. He invented condenser. Now, can you believe this? But we have been told the stories in our school कि वो केटल था और वो लीड ढक्कन हिल रहा था and things like that. You understand this? So it means that many things that you might be 100% confident, one might not have happened at all, or they might have happened, but not the way you are knowing. And that's what is history is about. For example, the present generations might be believing that there used to be great fight between Vallabhbhai Patel and Jawaharlal Nehru and etc. This has been hammered on you for the last 5-6 years. Vallabhbhai Patel was a staunch congressman. He was a staunch Gandhian than even Jawaharlal Nehru. How many of us might be knowing that? Maybe until 2010, this was taught in the schools, but somehow now WhatsApp University has become extremely active and they are rewriting many chapters in our history. जो हुआ है, अभी लोग क्या कहेंगे, लोग कि नहीं नहीं नहीं, maybe in the last 50 years something wrong was taught to us and now they are correcting it. Some people will say nahi, whatever has been taught to us was correct and now wrong history is being fed to us. Right now we are not going to get into that debate. Point is, you understand the importance of history and try to understand the meaning of history. What we are basically discussing? We are discussing that there always is a deliberate effort by somebody to feed history to you. ऐसा नहीं है कि जो एक्चुअली हुआ है वही आपको बता दिया जाता है, right? So people who are going to write history will be the society's elites and they will write history for a particular reason, basically to generate support for themselves. So what we have to do in UPSC, we have to follow a different approach. We have to study people's history, or what is famously called as history from below. Does it mean that we are not going to discuss the elites? Does it mean that we are not going to discuss the individuals? No, we are going to discuss the Ashokas and the Mughals and the Akbars and the Shivaji Maharaj, etc. But we are also going to discuss what? We are going to discuss people. We are not interested in what happens in personal life of Jawaharlal Nehru or Mahatma Gandhi or Ashok or Shivaji Maharaj or Akbar, etc. We are studying these people because these great individuals must have done something for the people, both maybe in a positive way or in a negative way. We have to discuss that. We are preparing for UPSC. We are not writing on WhatsApp. So studying people's history and the radical movements within it provides a counter historical narrative and story of the past. आपको जिंदगी में कुछ लेना देना नहीं है पद्मावत हुआ था या नहीं हुआ था. Forget it. By studying history, that places the ordinary person at the center of the history. You begin to see the bigger picture. This is why our story, that is the story which we are going to discuss in this class, will be an intricate history of people. The history from below is crucial as it tells the story of the common people, the peasants, the working classes. And that is what the people's history is all about. Shivaji Maharaj became a great king not because he fought some wars or he escapes from Agra, etc. He becomes a great person because he invented what is called as Swarajya. But frankly speaking, if Swarajya would have belonged to the elites, then he wouldn't have been important for us. He is important not only for general history, but for UPSC's history because he is one king who always keep common people at the center of whatever he do. So now if you understand what is history, then let's try to discuss why this is the first point in our syllabus. This is the first point in our syllabus because it impacts you, right? Whether you like it or not, doesn't matter. So frankly speaking, this is a point of approach again, not only important from the history point of view, but in general for UPSC. History in UPSC, there is a lot of competition, you are knowing, and there are so many topics you have to study like history, geography, economy, polity, environment, and security and ethics and whatnot. आपको कुछ भी option को नहीं डालना है, right? Whether you like it or not, in a way, it doesn't matter. And particularly, history के बारे में आपके मन में there might be few students who might not have liked history during your school days because for us, history in school is full of facts and figure and the dates and the names of the persons and etc., and the battles. So it is only mugging up and mugging up. Believe me, for UPSC's history is totally different. Here we are not going to mug up any dates, etc. I'm going to discuss those myths about history maybe tomorrow or after tomorrow's lecture, right? But one thing, whether you like it or not, doesn't matter. मेरे ख्याल से अभी आपको अच्छी लगने लगेगी. But important thing is that it is having such a huge impact on us. अगर आपको मालूम होना चाहिए कि आप कौन है, right? To know today, then obviously you must be knowing history. It also gives you a sound basis to study the other subjects like politics, society, economy, ethics, security, international relations, etc. For example, in your paper 2 polity syllabus, the first topic क्या है? First topic है historical underpinnings of Indian Constitution. Indian Constitution जब 1950 में हमने adopt किया है, right? It is based on 1935 Act. और उससे पहले, right? उससे पहले for nearly 150 years, British government passed many acts for India, and finally we come to our constitution. Society, in your paper 1 society syllabus, woman empowerment लिखा है. You know, during the, लेकिन अगर आपको woman की आज की condition मालूम होनी चाहिए, if you want to understand what the challenges the Indian women are facing, you need to know what happened with women in our history. For example, what happened in this country? Rigveda के time, women were allowed to study. They were treated nearly at par with the men. In fact, many women has written in the Rigveda as well. But something started to happen, and after Rigveda, after around 400-500 years, women were started to impose lot of restrictions. During the Rigveda, they were married after puberty. At the end of the later Vedic period, they started to get married before puberty. And you know, in the next 1000 years, more and more restrictions were imposed on her. There is a place called Eran in Madhya Pradesh. There is one inscription there from 510 AD during the Gupta period. And in that inscription, we find the first instance of Sati. So 1400 BC, Rigveda ke time, women were allowed to write a Rigveda. And in the next 2000 years, something grossly wrong happened in our country. And what happens? Suddenly we started to burn alive our widows. And then after maybe 1000 years or so, or maybe 1400 years, Raja Ram Mohan Roy will come. And Raja Ram Mohan Roy, with the help of British Governor General Bentinck, he will abolish the sati. Point is, if you don't know how the things happened and why the things happened, you will not able to understand all these things today. There might be some of you who might be really proud of Indian civilization, but you know, there is one of the biggest blot on our civilization, that is the caste system. For 2000 years, until the last century, the lower castes, as they are called, today's scheduled castes, I guess everybody knows what happened with them, right? So if you really wanted to understand what is reservation and what are the fundamental rights and justice and blah, 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 then you need to understand the society from history. Even if you want to understand economy, if you want to understand ethics and for that matter anything, international relations. आपको WhatsApp में पता है कि okay, there was something wrong between India and China war from the Indian coast in 1960s, right? We lost one war. But exactly हुआ क्या था? उससे पहले क्या हुआ था? उसके बाद क्या हुआ था? Etc. etc. Means you want to understand the today's issues between India and China, we have to take a review of the important happenings for the last 60-70 years as well. So like this, if you want to study any subject for UPSC, उसके आपको historical underpinnings study करने पड़ेंगे, and that's why this is one of the first topic in our syllabus. And because of that, we are going to study history not the way we used to study in our school. हमारे स्कूल में हम क्या पढ़ते थे? We used to study the kings and the battles and that's it. But now we are going to discuss not only political events but the administration and the economy and the society and the religion and the culture and the technology from the past. तो आप सीधी सी बात देखो कि जब मैं कंप्यूटर पढ़ता हूँ तो मुझे मालूम है कि कंप्यूटर पढ़ना है. अगर मैं इकोनॉमिक्स पढ़ता हूँ तो इकोनॉमिक्स पढ़ता हूँ. फ्रैंकली स्पीकिंग, आप जब हिस्ट्री पढ़ते हो तो क्या पढ़ते हो? हिस्ट्री पढ़ते हो तो आप पास्ट में जो हुआ वो पढ़ते हैं. लेकिन पास्ट में जो हुआ है, फॉर एग्जांपल, इफ यू वांट टू अंडरस्टैंड शिवाजी's एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, इफ यू वांट टू अंडरस्टैंड मुगल एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, आप एक्चुअली क्या पढ़ रहे हो? आप पढ़ रहे हो गवर्नेंस पढ़ रहे हो, राइट, पेपर 2 का। अगर आपको अगर आपको कनिष्क मालूम होना, some of you might be knowing the Kanishk. During his times, India became the richest country in the world. There was one historian, Pliny, in Roman Empire's court. You know what he said in the 2nd century BC? He said that you dig gold anywhere in the world, finally it is going to drain in India. आप कहीं भी आहे, तुम्ही कुठेही गोल्ड खणा, राईट, पण ते शेवटी भारतातच जाऊन पोहोचणार आहे. इफ यू वॉन्ट टू, एंड देन दैट सॉन्ग माइट हैव बीन रिटन, जहां डाल डाल पर सोने की चिड़िया करती है बसेरा, वो भारत देश है मेरा. ये इकोनॉमी है, right? When already we talk about the sati, the condition of women and the lower caste and etc. etc. Religion, right? In India, religion is very important. In fact, India is a country where world's few of the greatest religion has originated: Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism, right? So तो आपको religion पढ़ना पड़ेगा. Culture और dances and everything, music, paintings, and technology as well. So history is not only great leaders, but history is this interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary study. तो इस तरीके से आपको हिस्ट्री पढ़ना है. Any doubts until now? Anybody want to ask anything? And doubts? ठीक है, I will move ahead. Next 10 minutes are going to be extremely important. I want everybody's utmost concentration. पूरा concentration चाहिए. And I'm going to discuss something which is not important only from the history point of view, but it is important for each and every topic of UPSC. Frankly speaking, not only UPSC, but for your life in general. I am going to discuss how you are supposed to think. Again, not only for history, but for UPSC in general and for maybe in life in general. So let's try to discuss this. Please concentrate. This is very, very interesting. There is something called the levels of thinking. There is a material level and there is something called as the intellectual level. So when we think, right, we think at these two levels: intellectual level, material level. Actually, material level is at the core and it is surrounded by the intellectual level. लेकिन होता मतलब obviously intellectual level बाहर है, right? It is a cover, and because of that, when we come to know about anything, about individual, about event, about history, about economy, anything, when we know about any issue, normally first we will look or we will be exposed to the intellectual level, vaicharik patali. But the core of that issue will be a material level. I'm sure you wouldn't have understand anything. So let me discuss this with two examples. Everybody knows this. What is this? This is Taj Mahal, right? Anybody knows who built Taj Mahal? When we talk about Taj Mahal, right, the first thing we know that Shah Jahan built Taj Mahal in the memory of his loving wife Mehrun Nisa Begum, or famously called as a Mumtaz Mahal. So here what we are discussing an individual, his thoughts and his action. Right? We're talking about Shah Jahan, Mumtaz Mahal. We're talking about their feelings for each other, and we're talking about the action, that is the construction of Taj Mahal. So when we discuss individuals, their thinking and their actions, we are going to say that this is an intellectual level. ही वैचारिक पातळी आहे. Now, hypothetically, let's assume that you all going to love someone else and you are all going to maybe get married at some point of time. So are you people going to build Taj Mahal maybe for your girlfriend, boyfriend, or your husband or your wife? Will you build Taj Mahal? We're talking about in a very true sense that he loved his wife and he built a Taj Mahal for her. The point is, right? Yes, some of you have said that today these problems are different, implications are different. Maybe the way we express our love might be different. Maybe if you want to build a Taj Mahal type monument today, then you pay a lot of money, etc. Let's try to understand. Let's try to understand that why or how Shah Jahan built Taj Mahal. Frankly speaking, what we are not discussing Taj Mahal actually. We are discussing how to think, right? Already, already, you people have given me one or two reasons. Like, for example, if you want to build Taj Mahal, you need to have a lot of power and you need to have a lot of money as well. When you start to think like this, you are not talking about an individual and his actions, right? You are trying to find the reasons, and where you are trying to find reasons in in the material background of that period only. तो जो कालखंड जो आहे त्याच कालखंडामध्ये तुम्ही जाता आणि त्या कालखंडामध्ये त्या परिस्थितीमध्ये तुम्ही त्या व्यक्तीच्या ती जी कृत्य जी असतात त्याचा विचार करायला तुम्ही सुरुवात करता. You visit those times, right? You literally go back into the times of Shah Jahan and you try to see the material background, bhautik paristhiti, material background of that age, of that milieu. If you do that, then and then only you will understand that action properly. Otherwise, it will simply remain one of the actions of one individual. So let's try to understand the material background of the times. Basically, everybody loves their counterparts, right? So maybe everybody would like to build a Taj Mahal. लेकिन अगर Taj Mahal चाहिए, the first thing is you need to understand the material background, the legacy of the great Mughals, right from Babur to Jahangir, Babur, Akbar, उसके बाद आया जहांगीर, बीच में हुमायूं था. All these great Mughals, they built a very strong empire. So already by the time of Shah Jahan, the Mughal empire has reached its logical boundaries. There was no significant internal or external enemy to the Mughals. There was a lot of peace. This is a legacy. If you see Taj Mahal here, Taj Mahal is actually a tomb, right? She is buried under that gumat or that dome. But if you see, the beauty of Taj Mahal is not only in that dome, but also in the garden around it. So it was a tomb built in a garden, a Mughal garden. And you know who was the first Mughal emperor to start laying down these type of gardens? It was Babur. Babur built a lot of gardens in northern part of India. तो सीधी सी बात देखो, suddenly you are not going to think about building a tomb in a garden. पहले garden है, उसके बाद 100-200 years के बाद कोई तो tomb आएगी. So उसके बाद somebody will think about कि चलो let's build a tomb in the garden, and you will keep evolving this, and then finally you will reach Taj Mahal. This strong Mughal empire was having a fantastic administrative system, right? And because of that, they are having a huge amount of money. You might have heard Akbar's revenue minister. His name was Raja Todarmal, and he evolved one of the really advanced land revenue system. Actually, borrowed it from his earlier king Sher Shah Suri, but he fine-tuned it, and he fine-tuned it to such an extent that even the British government also used the same land revenue system. Even after independence, we also continued the same thing. So because of this amazing land revenue system, they used to collect a lot of taxes. At the same time, you might be knowing that by the time of the Mughals, during the time of the Mughals, India has become the production hub of the world. Why British and the rest of the Europeans came to India? Because India was the richest country during the Mughal times. And because of that, through taxes, they used to get huge amount of money. तो इसका मतलब है कि जहांगीर के पास, शाहजहां के पास बहुत सारा पैसा था. Technology as well as architecture. You know, Taj Mahal is built in what? It is built in marble. Can it be the first building built in marble? Absolutely not. Some of you might have heard the name of Noor Jahan. Noor Jahan's father's name was Itimud-Dawla. So Noor Jahan built one tomb in the memory of her father Itimud-Dawla, and that was the first building in marble in India. And it happened around 100 years before the Taj Mahal. तो इसका मतलब क्या है? इतिमुद्दौला की टॉम का डोम कंस्ट्रक्ट किया मार्बल में, उसके बाद वो आर्किटेक्चर आर्किटेक्ट्स जो थे, जो आर्टिसंस जो थे, द पीपल हु आर वर्किंग इन द मार्बल, राइट, दे कीप फाइन ट्यूनिंग देयर टेक्निक्स. ये जो डोम जो है, इफ यू सी, इट्स अ बुलबस डोम. ये नॉर्मल हेमिस्फेरिकल डोम नहीं दिख रहा है. बेस पे देखो, बेस में वो थोड़ा सा अंदर है और बुलबस बल्ब जैसा वो बाहर आया. इट इज कॉल्ड द बुलबस डोम. एक्चुअली दीज आर द डबल डोम्स. इफ यू गो इनसाइड ताजमहल और आप नीचे से अगर ऊपर देखते हो अंदर से, तो आपको खाली एक हेमिस्फेरिकल दिखेगा. तो अंदर का डोम अलग है और ये जो डोम है वो बाहर का डोम है. दीज आर डबल डोम. दिस इज हाइट ऑफ आर्किटेक्चर. या आप मिनारेट्स आप देख सकते हो, दे आर वेरी सिमेट्रिकल, स्लेंडर है. सो ऑल दीज थिंग्स, राइट, ऑल दीज थिंग्स हैज टू कीप इवॉल्व फॉर मे बी 100, 200, 300 years. And finally the refined taste of Shah Jahan. इसका मतलब क्या है? रिफाइंड टेस्ट मतलब क्या है? रिफाइंड टेस्ट मतलब, ऑलरेडी वी हैव डिस्कस दैट मुगल्स आर रियली रिच पीपल, राइट. और जो रिच पीपल होते हैं ना, और फैमिलीज जो होती है ना, 100, 200, 300 years तक, तो उनकी टेस्ट बहुत रिफाइंड होती है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, द पीपल हु विल बी न्यूली रिच, न्यू रिच एज दे आर कॉल्ड, immediately what they will do, they will buy some large SUV like the Scorpio or something like that, right? They will have big gold chains, gold bangles, and etc. etc. There will be a lot of show off among the newly rich people. But when you talk about the Tatas and the Birlas and etc., all these people, then they will have what? They will have very swanky cars, but not necessarily SUVs, and they will have very elegant bangles and elegant chains and etc. That is refined taste, right? So if you want to build a building like Taj Mahal, you need to have a very refined taste. So basically try to understand whether we are discussing love. No, we are discussing Shah Jahan. No, we are discussing his love for his wife. No, what we are discussing, we are discussing economy, we are discussing administration, we are talking about the internal security, the external security, we are talking about the technology, we are talking about the architects, and we are talking about the different aspects of culture. If you don't understand all these things, then you will not understand Taj Mahal. Some of you might be knowing that Aurangzeb also loved his wife dearly, and he died at Aurangabad, and there he built the imitation of Taj Mahal. Right? He built the imitation of Taj Mahal, famously called as I forgot the name of that building, Bibi ka Maqbara, I guess. Right? So Taj Mahal ka imitation hai. But the problem is, because he don't have a lot of money, और पीस भी नहीं था, and because of that he was not able to concentrate a lot on that construction of that building, वो अच्छी तरीके से मॉनिटर नहीं कर पाया, and because of that वो ताजमहल नहीं बना पाया, even though he was having maybe money and he was having the technology, etc. So to understand the things properly, it's extremely important to understand the material background properly. Let's take another example, and that is the example of Shivaji Maharaj. He is one of the greatest king the world has ever seen, right? And we know that he thought of building his own state at a very early age. By the age of 16, he has already conquered his one fort, right? But let's keep Shivaji Maharaj out of all this discussion. And let's try to understand that what was the material background when Shivaji Maharaj built his Swaraj. What was the situation at that time when he founded that Swaraj? Shivaji Maharaj won Torna at age of 16, and he took an oath of building Swaraj. This is an intellectual background. This is an intellectual level. We are talking about individual and his emotions and his acts. But what we have to do now, we have to find the true justification, the reasoning, the realities. And where we are going to find? We are going to find those realities in in the society, economy, polity, culture, geography of that era, of that 16th century Maharashtra. So what was the material background? To understand the material background of foundation of Swaraj, you need to understand this first thing. You might have been told that Shivaji Maharaj built Swaraj because everybody was fed up with the Mughals and etc. etc. You need to understand that just before the Swaraj was founded, uh, Maharashtra was essentially ruled by this Western Maharashtra was ruled by two kings. One was Nizam Shah at Ahmednagar, and second Adil Shah at Bijapur. And Mughals had just entered Deccan, right? So Mughal had just entered Deccan, and now they have defeated the Ahmednagar Nizam Shah. सीधी सी बात देखो, मुगल अगर स्वराज के पहले कुछ ही दिन आए हैं, महाराष्ट्र में था ही नहीं वो, तो हाउ दे आर गोइंग टू ransack Maharashtra and etc. So forget that. That's altogether historical lies that has been circulated. Point is that Mughal came in Deccan and they defeated Nizam Shah of Ahmednagar. And because of that, you know what happened? Because of that, there was a political vacuum in Western Maharashtra. Think very carefully. When you talk about this Pune district and etc., where Shivaji Maharaj founded his Swaraj, right? That area was important for Ahmednagar's Nizam Shah. It was not that because it was nearby. Ahmednagar is 120 kilometers from Pune, right? So that area was not important even for Adil Shah, and that area also was not at all important for the Mughals as well. So in a way, there was a political vacuum, and no powerful king was there in these parts of India for a decade or two. So that political vacuum was very much, you need to understand that vacuum, right? If you want to understand the foundation. The second is the background of the Warkaris. One of the greatest feat of Shivaji Maharaj is that he went above the caste system. People from the different castes and the different genders, they came together under Shivaji Maharaj's leadership. But you know, there was one amazing experiment which was already going on in Maharashtra around 300 years before Shivaji Maharaj came. And that was a Bhakti movement led by the Warkari sect. It was founded in Maharashtra by Sant Jnaneshwar, and then it was having great uh, poet saints, as they are called, like Sant Namdev, Eknath, Tukaram. And Tukaram and Ramdas, they were the contemporaries of Shivaji Maharaj. So point is, the message of Warkaris was what? The Warkaris concentrated on the lower strata of the society, right? And they always emphasize equality. So that was also very much beneficial for Shivaji Maharaj. The sense of equality, as it is called, which was already floated in Maharashtra. And already people of Maharashtra were united at least by their love towards their god Vithoba. Second, a very difficult terrain of Sahyadri. It was very difficult for the Mughals to penetrate these high hills, and Shivaji Maharaj knew it well. It would have been very difficult for Shivaji Maharaj to fight against the Adil Shah or against the Mughals in the open plains, because in the open plains you had to have large armies, you had to have large big elephants and the artillery, etc. And Shivaji Maharaj was not having that amount of money with him. It is an amazing experiment if you consider this point, that he was not having money at all, and still he was able to build Swaraj. But without that cushion provided by Sahyadri, it would have been a Herculean task. Another thing is the legacy of Shahaji Raje Bhosle. In our history, in common man's history, it is told that Shahaji Raje was the employee of some Muslims. Forget about that Hindu Muslim. Frankly speaking, at that moment, everybody used to serve, everybody used to serve the Nizams and the Mughals, etc. But forget that. What is important to note is Shahaji Raje was the most important noble under the Nizam Shah court. When the last of the important Nizam Shah was killed by the Mughals, what Shahaji Raje did next was very important. Shahaji Raje, Shahaji Raje found one prince. He declared him the next Nizam Shah and he tried to rule in his name. तो इसका मतलब क्या है? इसका मतलब है कि शाहजी राजे, who was the father of Shivaji Maharaj, had seen a dream already to have his own kingdom. So obviously that legacy of Shahaji Maharaj would have definitely come to Shivaji Maharaj. Then the role of Jizabai Maharaj as well. I guess there is no need to overemphasize, there is no need to underline her role. Everybody knows that it was she who have given Shivaji Maharaj all the education and all the witticism and all the vision, etc., etc. And so was the role of Dadoji Konde. He was a minister of Shahaji Maharaj, and Shahaji Raje asked him to a sort of patron of Shivaji Maharaj when he was young, and he taught him administration and governance. And on the background of all these things, then you can think about the personality of Shivaji Maharaj. So without understanding this material background, you will not able to understand that how exactly the Swaraj was established. The point is, whenever you are discussing anything, right? Anything, it might be history, geography, economy, polity, international relations, anything, it is very important to find out what is the material background of that action. But always remember, whenever the leaders do something, right? Whenever the leaders do something, if you really wanted to understand what they are doing, the significance of that, then without studying material background, you will never able to understand it. Otherwise, it will only remain an intellectual level history which we normally read on WhatsApp. कि नेहरू ने ऐसा किया, पटेल ने ऐसा किया, सुभाष चंद्र बोस का ऐसा हुआ था, और शिवाजी महाराज ने ऐसा उसका अफजल खान को मार दिया, and all these kind of things. All these are intellectual level history. We are talking about individuals and their actions, but we are supposed to find the material background of that.